Welcome to today's episode. We're diving into the complex world of business ethics. Specifically, we'll talk about ethical issues in business and the role of corporate social responsibility, or CSR. It's something that's gaining more attention, especially as consumers and employees expect more from companies beyond just profits.
Absolutely. It's so interesting how the landscape is shifting. I mean, companies are now being held to higher ethical standards than ever before. It's not just about what they sell, but how they operate, how they treat their employees, impact the environment, and contribute to society.
Right. Take, for example, the increasing focus on environmental sustainability. It's one thing to sell a product, but if a company is polluting the environment or exploiting resources irresponsibly, it raises serious ethical questions. Businesses are now expected to consider their environmental footprint in every decision.
Definitely. And it's not just about the environment. Social issues are also key. Things like fair wages, diversity and inclusion, and ethical sourcing of materials. But here's the thing. It's easy for companies to claim they are ethical, but how can we really trust them? What mechanisms are in place to ensure they're living up to these promises?
That's a big question. A lot of it comes down to transparency and accountability. Companies need to be open about their practices, and they have to be willing to undergo audits or third-party evaluations. But it's also about corporate culture. A company that truly values ethical behavior will make it part of its DNA, from top leadership to entry-level employees.
Exactly. And then there's the whole debate about profit versus purpose. There's this idea that ethical business practices might be costly in the short term, but in the long run, they actually build trust with customers and employees, which leads to greater success. Do you think that's true?
I do. There's growing evidence that consumers are willing to pay a premium for products from companies they trust, or that align with their values. Take Patagonia, for instance. They've built a brand that's synonymous with environmental activism, and it's really paid off for them. But it's not easy. Balancing ethical practices with business goals requires a real commitment.
And what about the dilemma between maximizing shareholder profit and considering the greater good? How do you think businesses should handle that tension?
That's the heart of the issue, isn't it? Shareholders are looking for returns. But if a company neglects social responsibility or ethical concerns just to boost profits, it can damage its reputation and ultimately hurt its bottom line. I think the modern approach is to find a balance where long-term growth aligns with ethical practices. It's about creating sustainable value rather than just short-term gains.
That's a good point. And speaking of sustainability, the whole movement of stakeholder capitalism has been gaining traction. It's the idea that businesses should consider the interests of all stakeholders, not just shareholders, but also employees, customers, and the communities they operate in.
Exactly. The idea is that when businesses focus on the well-being of their stakeholders, it creates a more balanced and ethical approach to business. This model also emphasizes long-term responsibility over immediate profits. It's kind of the opposite of the old-school shareholder-first mentality.
Right, and in a way, that's where CSR comes in. It's not just about donating money to charities or launching a green initiative. It's about embedding ethical values into every part of the business. From how they treat their employees, to how they source materials, to how they engage with their communities.
Exactly. CSR should be part of the company's strategy, not just a side project or something they do for PR. The best companies integrate CSR into their overall business model, making it a core element of how they operate. It's about creating positive change while also driving business success.
So, looking at all of this, what do you think the future of business ethics and CSR will look like? Will it become the norm, or is there still a long way to go?
I think it's definitely moving in the right direction, but there's still a lot of work to do. More companies are adopting ethical practices and CSR, but it'll take time for it to be the standard everywhere. The more consumers demand ethical behavior, the more pressure companies will feel to adapt.
And I think as younger generations, who really care about these issues, enter the workforce and become leaders in the industry, we'll see even more changes. They won't tolerate unethical practices, and they'll push companies to do better.
Absolutely. The shift is happening, but it's going to be a gradual process. One thing's for sure, though, business ethics and corporate responsibility aren't just trends anymore. They're essential to how businesses succeed in the future.
Well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, this conversation has sparked some thoughts about how businesses can do better while also doing good.
We'll catch you next time. Keep thinking about these issues. Business ethics are something we all need to stay aware of, whether we're consumers, employees, or business owners ourselves.